Hello, all, and welcome to Geeks Assembled. And today we're going to be talking about a Bond film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, starring George Lazenby in his only appearance as Bond. I'd like to know the reason why it's his only appearance. In fact, I think I know why. So I'm joined by three people. I'm so bad at hosting. Three people. So let's start off with Texas Tim. Go on, what do you think of this?
It's very good. It's one of the best Bond films, I believe. It, in spite of the behind the scenes stuff, the change of actors. If you look at it in context, it comes across pretty well. He basically is a stand-in for Connery, if you think about it, but he does a good job. And it is a good question why he didn't want to do more, but he decided during the making of it that he only just wanted to do the one, apparently. And this was before, the times we live in now, where you've had a succession of actors, and people are used to the idea of changing the actor. I'm not sure if that hurt the film, though. It still performed pretty well. Once again, you have an actress coming in immediately after leaving the Avengers on TV with Diana Rigg, who's awesome in this. She plays a very unusual Bond girl in a lot of ways. Because she's got her own hang-ups or whatever we call it, baggage. And it's the one film where the Bond, he gets the girl. He doesn't not only gets the girl, he marries the girl, which is unfortunately ends in tragedy as it has to do. I have to wonder if Connery didn't regret not doing this one because it's a much better film than the one he came back for, Diamonds Are Forever. It's just too. That's not a bad film, but this is two different kinds of Bond films, and this is a very serious one compared to what has come on before. Also, it's my understanding that they were a lot closer to the book. That the script is much closer to how the book was. They dropped a lot of the gadgetry, so it seems like a much more serious film than some of the previous ones. But I think that doesn't mean it's a bad one. I think it's a very good one. It may run on a little bit too long. I would have trimmed it down about 15 minutes, but it's still a good film. Also, if you blink and you might miss them, but you also see a very young Catherine Schell and Joanna Lumley in this movie. So there's a lot of pretty girls around. So, but yeah, overall, I think it's a great addition to the franchise. I think it stands out as one of the better early films.
Thank you, Tim. Let's move over to Susan. Susan, what's your opening thoughts on this movie?
Well, at various times on the screen, in the beginning, the credits, and then with Diana Rigg, and then later on with Joanna Lumley, it pretty much is a huge chunk with Honor Blackman, Diana Rigg, and Joanna Lumley. It is the Avengers girls meet James Bond, and that's brilliant to me. I mean, I just think that's really cool. And George Lazenby did have a big role to fill, a big set of shoes to fill. And I've heard what you said about it being closer to the book, but I also know that that this was more the way that Ian Fleming had actually described Bond. The look of him, the feel of the way he spoke. George Lazenby really captured that in a big way, or they did the casting so precisely that's where it ended up. And I think that it was great that the skiing was phenomenal. I love the skiing shots. There were the evil lair was on top of this sheer rock cliff face with all these like couloirs coming out of it, and just epic ski shots. It's like watching a Warren Miller film, for crying out loud. And like beautiful cinematography, to coin a phrase. Anyway, I really love ski movies, and I've watched maybe 50 ski movies in my life, and this is this I can add in there because it's just epic. And the fact that it was filmed on location in Switzerland, I mean, wow, it was amazing. And I love the chase scenes in the car as well, with them joining into a stock car race, which is funny because I didn't know that little Morris Minis and little Fiats were considered stock cars. But you know, you learn from these things too. And yeah, so it was a good plan of what's his name, uh, Telly Savalas. No,
Kojak.
Kojak. It's a good plan by Kojak. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Back over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Susan. Lee, what's your own thoughts on this movie?
No matter what Bond movie it is, the best things about Bond movies are the locations and the stunt work. Because every Bond movie, even if it's a duff storyline, the stunts are amazing, the locations are amazing, and this one is you can't diss this one. That you say the locations, the scenery, the stunts are amazing. You've got George Lazenby did a hell of a job. He was only 29 when he did. He was a boy. He was 29 when he did this film. And he does regret not doing one more, because I did see the documentary at the end of this on the DVD, and it was his agent what announced he was leaving, and not him. So he went along with what the agent said. So I think the agent was just a bit more moolah, you know what I mean? But yeah. It's an awesome movie. Yeah, it is more realistic, more to the book. It's a pity he didn't come back for Diamonds Are Forever, because that might have been a totally different movie when he came, if he did have come back for that. Because they might have stuck with that sort of format for Diamonds Are Forever instead of going down the route what they did go down. I know I have got one gripe on this, and I have mentioned. Connor knows what I'm going to say now.
Yeah.
About Blofeld and Bond. They didn't recognise each other in this movie.
I know.
But they met each other in the last movie.
I read something about that. That's because these movies weren't made in any kind of book order, and the book, which they tried to adhere to, was the first time they meet. So yeah, it's something they should have.
Someone should have done the homework from a movie only 2 years before.
what basically happened, I believe, is kind of like, I'll go just through the nuts and bolts of it. Is obviously both movies, You Only Live Twice and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, are two different screenwriters. Yeah. The one, Roald Dahl, who wrote You Only Live Twice, famously, didn't really want to adhere to the books as much. And the one that wrote On Her Majesty's Secret Service did. He was very sort of regimented. He wanted it to be as faithful to the source material as possible. So in that, he kind of didn't acknowledge the fact that, and you're right, they should have brought this up in the production office. He wrote the script with the idea of, as in the novels, Blofeld and Bond meeting for the first time there, in mind. And it's confusing bit of canon. There's been a few theories about that though, so I'll probably go into a few in my thoughts.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, because it's been a while since I've seen this one. So I sat down this week, watched it, and then that was just one of that was the main thing what just stuck out of my head. I thought, oh, hold on a minute, they've met. Okay, yes, it was two different actors in the last film, but they should have still sort of carried on the meeting bit. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was. Is it the best Bond movie? I don't know, to be honest. I kind of might think it is, up there with Daniel Craig's, I suppose. But yeah, it's all right. Roger Moore forever for me.
Well, yeah, I can't wait to go on to Roger Moore's.
Octopussy next month.
Child of the 80s. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. For my thoughts, I gotta say it's probably the best, if not one of the best. The snow scenes and everything, just the fight, the final battle, if you want to call it that, at Blofeld's mountaintop lair, unbelievable. That is one of the best moments in Bond, in all the movies. Like, you can't even come close to that in some of them. Very, very underrated movie when it first came out, I believe. Not a lot of people kind of gelled with it, but over time it's kind of it's really got its rightful praise. Could have easily been a Sean Connery movie. I almost wish it was, but George Lazenby, like, for one movie Bond, does a really good job. And I think one of the reasons why he didn't do more is because he didn't really get on with Cubby Broccoli, and Harry Saltzman, because after the success of Connery, Lazenby expected to come into the role, and everyone just rave about him as an actor and everything, and they didn't. Like, he was an unknown. You know, it was very obvious at that time that Connery was kind of a higher pecking order than Lazenby, and Lazenby felt a bit overshadowed, to be honest. He felt a bit underappreciated. And I think that's part of the reason why he only did one. But what a single movie to do, to be fair. It's like, you know, why would you want to do more when you've kind of hit perfection on the first go? This movie is just so full of everything that makes Bond. If you want to encapsulate Bond in one movie, I would pick either this or Casino Royale. There's so many great sceneries, girls, fights, villains, obviously Blofeld, and Irma Bunt as well, who unfortunately the actress died, but she should have come back in even as a recast in Diamonds Are Forever, because in the books, Irma Bunt is an incredibly important part, because she's the one that kills Tracy. So Bond feels very antagonistic towards her, and in the books, I think that's a storyline that they didn't really get to explore in the movies, in the way that I think that they should have done. Obviously, they kind of substituted the revenge story with Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever, but I don't think it works as well as in the books. But yeah, what a movie! There's nothing that I can really point out about it that's better than the rest. It is from the very beginning to the very end absolute perfection. I could watch this movie over and over again. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time, actually, I would say. And Diana Rigg is the ultimate Bond girl. I think, you know, a lot would argue that maybe Honor Blackman is, who, as Tim and Susan pointed out, was also in the Avengers. But Diana Rigg kind of was the very first one, to my mind, that kind of set the template for Bond girls to come. I think without Diana Rigg, you wouldn't have had people like Eva Green in Casino Royale, or you know, even Barbara Bach, or them sorts of characters, because I think the strong female character was kind of magnified by Diana Rigg's presence in that movie. She really did shape the Bond girl, I think. So it's a very iconic and important movie in the franchise, I think. And as you said, one thing that I love about it, and it's the line that everyone quotes from this movie, that never happened to the other fella. That's kind of like how self-referential that is to just how big of a change this was at the time. You know, it's a bit like Doctor Who, you know, when Doctor Who changes faces and stuff like that. You know, it was that, I think it was met with that kind of, wow, okay, so they're getting a new actor and, you know, they're going to continue this. Because I think a lot of people would have said that they would have wanted Connery to adapt all of the books and then that just be it. But, you know, they've managed to keep it going because of, you know, they're able to change actors. And that's kind of what's so important about this film, is that it like, you know, as I said in Doctor Who with the 10th Planet and stuff, it kind of sets that landmark, I guess you could say, for the franchise. So it's a very important movie, actually, when you think about it in terms of the franchise as a whole. But yeah, that's my golden praises over with. Let's go into favourite moments. Let's go with Lee. Go on, tell me some of your favourite moments.
Well, that thing, what he says at the beginning, you know, it never happened to the other guy. Is it Peter Hunt, the director, told him to say that because George Lazenby was saying it all the time on the set. He says, just have that at the end of it. Just say what you always say. But I think, nobody said it, but the John Barry score, the On Her Majesty's Secret Service theme, so they went back to instrumental for the theme tune for this one, and it's a brilliant score. And the opening credits with, you know, the women and the Britannia and all like that was just brilliant.
I could just say they did that because they couldn't come up with a song that would have the phrase in it, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. That would be
but you don't really need.
Right. You know how usually they'll have a throwaway song like Goldfinger or Thunderball.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, how are you going to wrap a song around that phrase? You know. So.
But you've got to also give a big thumbs up to the Love Theme song, Louis Armstrong. We Have All the Time in the World. You know, 1969, but it was re-released for a commercial back in 1994. It was a big hit in the UK. But it's a brilliant love song. The music in this is awesome. Even the action music when it's all kicking off. I agree with what Tim said earlier, though. It could have been cut, in my opinion. The beginning of it was a bit slow to begin with. All the Tracy bit, all the romancing bit at the beginning, it could have been edited down a bit, I think, because a Bond movie, Bond movie's an action movie, isn't it? And there wasn't much action to begin with at the beginning of the movie, apart from pre-credits, of course. But I don't know if Telly Savalas was a good enough Blofeld though. Yeah, because he was a well-known actor at the time. I mean, you had Donald Pleasance before it, didn't you? With the scar across his eye. Then you had Charles Gray afterwards. I think they're the three main classic Blofelds, aren't they? I don't think there was any more, wasn't there?
Yeah, they're the three main classic ones. Yeah,
they're the three main classic. I don't know. He didn't seem scheming or evil enough for me.
I think Savalas's iteration of it, and this is kind of a lot of Bond fans have an issue with how some of the villains don't match Bond in physicality. Like they cannot take Bond on. It's impossible. That's why they've got the henchmen.
Yeah.
And Savalas, I think, is the closest thing to a villain with physicality, a main villain with physicality, not like Mr. Hinks or a Jaws that's kind of built like a brick shithouse. I think not only has he got the brains, but I think he's got the physicality to take on Bond, and I think that's, in my opinion, why Savalas is so good. I prefer Christoph Waltz in Spectre way later on, but
I don't. I mean, it's possibly that people like him, people don't. I don't know. He's possibly Marmite, but I did know. I mean, it's the only first time I've noticed, and I didn't know this, but he had a deformed finger, didn't he? Telly Savalas. I didn't know that until a close up of his hand, and it looked like a part of his finger was missing out. It was deformed. Hey, there you go. But yeah, favourite bits. I thought Lazenby did a damn good job in this for what he was, what he was given for, the shoes to fill. It's a shame he didn't do another one, but the action scene. I mean, the documentary I watched, the avalanche scene is just, it's amazing, and the way they said they did it, they dropped 3 bombs out of helicopters, and what you see on screen is what happened. Wow. And the way they got this, the skiing shots with a guy hanging off an helicopter in a little net. This is what Bond's about. It's what you see on screen, but it's the behind the scenes, what amazes me the most. How they do it. People say, "Oh, you can never do that. You can never do like the Live and Let Die thing. With the alligators across the top of. They did do it. It was there. It's there on the film. They did do it. I just love all this stunt work. I think it's brilliant. But over to you, Connor. I'm just in awe of the stunt work in Bond.
Thank you, Lee. Susan, what's your favourite moment?
Yes, my favorite moments are the moments where Bond is building his relationship with Tracy, and having to go through her father, and having her father keep setting him up and then stick with them all the way till he's bombing the place at the end, as Lee just mentioned. And so, I mean, I love that relationship building. That was fun. It was fun that for a second you thought that Bond wasn't going to sleep with her, but then he knocks the wheels out from under the cart, and it tips over, and she rolls over on top of him. I mean, that was different. That was Bond being fun. And the other thing that I liked, I did like the character of Irma Bunt, how wicked a woman she was. That was fun. And the at the wedding, Monty Penny looking so forlorn, and then trying to smile at the end. Yeah, there was Q, and there was M, and then Bernard Horsfall. Again, just a great actor. Like, really cool to see him in this. And yeah, so, and then there were all the different nation women, the women who were being sent home with the little poison off into the nations. It's like a little Bible camp or something. It was fun. Anyway, yeah, enjoyed it a lot. Back over to you, Connor.
Thank you, Susan. Tim, what's your favourite moment?
Well, I think it's interesting the approach they took to this. It was a big deal that they changed their lead actor. I mean, because Connery didn't want to do anymore. And so I think that's why they include those previously on James Bond kind of scenes from the previous movies at the beginning. They're trying to let you know this is the same thing. You're doing the same thing. And I think that pre-credit scene really does cement that. I mean, it's really awesome. I mean, it's shot like right before the sun comes up. I mean, it's like right early morning. Like right before dawn. It's great. I mean, as the scene progresses, the scene gets lighter and lighter. It's very well directed. I was noticing when I was looking back at some of it, the way the director, and I forget who it is, but he only did this one.
Peter
But
Hunt.
okay, yeah, and I mean, just little things like the scene when he's looking in the mirror and you see the hand pick his gun out of his jacket on the chair. You know, I mean, it's her, of course, but I mean, it's little things like that that are really done very well. Like Lee said, the music is very good. It's one of the best scores, I think, that Barry did, who did most of the early ones, I think, and several of the later ones. But uh, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I lost my train, but it's a very good film. I think as far as favorite scenes go, I agree with Lee though that the stunts and the fights are handled very well. It's really all about the editing and the sound design. But I mean, like when he goes into her apartment, he's unexplicably attacked by the big thug. And you're just like, what the hell? I mean, and it's done so well. And of course, he quips the one-liner, like I forget what it is, but it's just it's the typical Bond thing. You don't really notice the difference, I don't think, right away. I mean, I think Lazenby managed to slip into the role rather easily, do a very good job. And it's interesting too that they do try to keep a thread going through the films, because even though he leaves and then Connery comes back and does one, they open the film with him seeking revenge on Blofeld. So it's a different Bond, a different Blofeld, and you're just like, how do you follow that? I mean, I don't know. To their credit, they did that though. Also, I think there's a scene in one of the Moore films where he's visiting her grave. I think it's For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah.
So they do kind of keep it in there, because if somebody told you Bond was going to get married in a film, you think, well, that's it. That's going to end the franchise. But no, instead the tragedy happens. So yeah, overall, great movie.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, Lee.
A couple of things. How would you feel? You're the leading man. How would you feel if you, because George Lazenby didn't know this until he sat down and watched it at the premiere, whatever it was, that he was dubbed for about 30 minutes by George Baker when he was playing the character. He didn't realise he'd been dubbed. He was doing an accent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit of a way to crap on your leading man, isn't it?
I wouldn't say crapping on. I would just say that, you know, you do what works best for the film.
Yeah, he wasn't told.
Well, he'd already left the role, so I mean, I guess it's not like, hey, do you mind if we dub you for, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but also, I'm trying to remember, but I think this must be the only Bond movie. Is it with not really a good ending? You know, it's a sad ending. I can't think of any other. Everybody, all the other ones are. You leave on a high. Bond.
I would argue Skyfall ends kind of.
Skyfall, Casino Royale, and
Casino Royale.
Yeah,
but Daniel Craig's just miserable anyway. But I did while watching it. I didn't realise that I'd met this actor a few years ago. He's dead now, but I didn't realise James Bree was in this as Gumball. As when Bond goes there to gets into the safe with the coded machine, Gumball was the guy who broken into.
Yeah.
The guy who was walking by him.
Yeah, the glasses. He was in his office.
Yeah, the solicitor.
James Bree. He's been in loads of Doctor Who's.
It's the funny thing about James Bree is he's a very good actor, except in Doctor Who. In Doctor Who, he always overacts. I mean, he's famous for it. Especially Lord. That.
Especially in what do you call it, the War Games.
The War Games, yeah.
Wait, he's not Soldeed, is he? Is he?
No, he's not Soldeed. No.
Oh,
He was the keeper of the Matrix in Trial of a Time Lord.
All right.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't realise it was him. I thought, I know that face. I had to look it up. Oh, James Bree. Anyways, carry on, Connor.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's difficult for me to pick a favourite moment. I like the first shot of Lazenby in the car with the bowler hat on, sort of thing. Just driving with the cigar. That's iconic. You know that you've made an impression when you only have to see a couple of seconds of the beginning of the movie to tell what movie it is, and that's one of them scenes that kind of that does that for me. I just instantly know what Bond movie it is that's playing when I see that scene. One thing I do like about it and I know that it could be argued, it could be cut down a little bit. It's kind of the cat and mouse between Bond and Diana Rigg for, I forgot her name then. What's the name?
Tracy.
Yeah. Why have I forgotten her name? Yeah, Tracy, Countess Tracy. At the beginning, like, you know, they go obviously from the beach to the hotel and then all that sort of stuff. I quite like that because it kind of, it really builds on Tracy's character, because I think that sometimes Bond girls lack depth of character, and they really made an effort here to kind of give Tracy her own kind of personality. You know, she wasn't really a femme fatale. She's probably the strongest Bond girl, I would say, in my opinion, to be in any of the films. She was very single-minded. She could handle her own. She could, you know, she even took on Blofeld for a little bit of the movie near the end before Bond saved her. You know, she was very tough, a very tough girl, and it was nice to kind of see her develop, and then it just end so tragically. Because what they also did was they really did write her to be the perfect fit for Bond. You know, I don't feel like the marriage aspect of it was shoved in. I felt like it, you know, I couldn't believe that they'd both get married, because I think that she was his equal, and he knew that. And he's also never worked harder in any of the films for a girl than he kind of did for her. So it's kind of, there's a definite love between both of them there. I think that kind of you can see from the opening scene even. Yeah, the battles at the end with Tracy's dad bombing Blofeld's lair. That is just, you can't beat that. And yeah, the ski scene as well with the avalanche, where you know, the presumed dead, and then Tracy's kidnapped. You know, it's just unbelievable. They really went all out with this movie. I think this was the movie where they kind of took more of a risk. The first four Connerys are very good movies, but very by the numbers, and not. It doesn't feel as extravagant as like this movie does. In the action, they really went to new kind of heights with the action in this, and I think that's kind of part of what makes it so amazing. And you know, a lot of filmmakers out there, Christopher Nolan, for example, cite this one as like their favorite Bond movie, because it really just kind of encapsulates Bond so well. Yeah, I think the saddest ending to any Bond film. And that is a favourite moment, and it shouldn't. I know, like in a strange way, it shouldn't be, because it's sad. But the way that they wrote that and filmed that was amazing. And in fact, like Lee might know the story because he's seen the documentary a lot more recent than I have.
Yeah.
But George Lazenby, to get the tears, to get the genuine emotion of the scene, read a book. I can't remember what the book was.
It was on a Majesty Secret Service.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He had it on him all the time while he was filming, and he said once he got to that scene where she died, emotional scene, it got to him, and that his tears were coming down his face. They filmed it. He thought, right, we've got that. It's a brilliant thing. And Peter Hunt said, "Can we do it again without the tears, please?"
Yeah. It was. He really had to kind of trick himself in that moment to give the emotion, and then yeah, like you said, Peter Hunt just said, "No, do it again without the tears." I think that's also one of the moments where it kind of solidified Bond as this, you know, hard-edged kind of character. He's kind of an emotionless killer sort of thing as well.
Also as well, it's good to see in this one you get another Bond girl in Ruby. From up north. She was from up north. She sounded like me and Connor. You
Yeah,
don't get that in a Bond movie.
No, you don't. In fact, one of the things that I do like, and it's a movie reference, but it's kind of before its time. In fact, I would say that maybe this movie stole from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. The wedding scene gives me a lot of vibes of The Godfather.
All the flowers.
Yeah, all the flowers and all that sort of stuff, like the
Yeah.
decadence of it, and that it's just very Godfather-y. Like the beginning of The Godfather, anyone that's seen The Godfather will kind of know what scene I'm talking about.
Well, also doesn't Pacino's bride also get killed in almost the same way, like in the car or something? Or am I thinking of something else?
The thing that was, that was really Godfather-ish, because the father stayed involved all along. I mean that's a well.
He was paying Bond. He was paying Bond to take his daughter away from him. Yeah, there's an envelope full of money. Take care.
It is wonderful to kind of see what this movie is, because I think in very subtle ways it's influenced quite a lot of movies, just beyond kind of the Bond movies. I think it is one of the best action movies of all time.
I think what you're saying is it breaks the norm. Also, it's not like any of the previous ones, and it's not like that many that follow. I mean, it's a one-off story where he actually falls in love and gets married. I mean, like you said, he met his match. I mean, and so she's not your typical Bond girl, and because of that, it stands out as being, oh, it's that movie. It's not, in other words, you can compare some of the classics with some of the new and say, oh yeah, it's the same runaround. As long as it's got, the action scenes, the locations, like Lee said, and the girls, it's a Bond movie. But sometimes some are better than others. I mean, it's just how they play with the toys, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I love every Bond. I love all Bond, but some are better than others. It's just
Definitely.
Yeah. I won't diss on Bond and stuff like that, but I'll never diss on Roger Moore. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, you're even like Roger Moore.
No, come on, I grew up with. You see, you grow up with a certain actor. He's your Bond. He's your Doctor Who sort of thing.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Roger Moore. If I was a little bit older, I'd have been saying Sean Connery's my favorite. It's just one of those things.
I'm exactly the same. Like at the moment, I can't see anyone replacing Daniel Craig. I don't know how it's possible.
There's going to have to be.
Yeah, there's going to have to be, but I just don't know how it's possible. I don't know how you can top Daniel Craig.
And nobody will like the casting when it happens. But
yeah.
Then, but once the film is out, people will adore it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's my favourite moments. We'll go on to rating it and final say, I think. Go on, Lee, what's your final say and rating?
I did enjoy it. I did think it sort of needed editing a little bit. I mean, you were okay with the romance thing at the beginning. Maybe if they split the romance thing up with other segments of other things, maybe Moneypenny or whatever, in between the romance things, because it just seemed to drag on a bit. So for me, George Lazenby did a damn good job, and it's a shame he didn't come back for Damned Forever. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10.
Thank you, Lee. Tim?
I'm going to have to give it a 10 again. I mean, because I think it's not perfect. I agree that it could have been shortened hither and thither. But I mean, from what they had going in with a new actor playing the part, it must have been very challenging. And I think they did a bang-up job with it. And it holds up very well today. Like you said, how many current directors were influenced by this film? Just the way it was put together and executed. I mean, I guess I would say. And again, it's not your typical Bond movie. It tells that story, which is just in this film. I think that really makes it one of the best ones ever. So I'm gonna give it a 10.
Thank you, Tim. Susan?
Well, I enjoyed it. It was good to see it again. I don't really have a Bond. I think my dad might have a Bond, but I'm not entirely sure who his is. But I enjoy all of them. It is part of our family tradition to watch a Bond film at Thanksgiving. when they usually release them in between October and December of every year that they are released. So yeah, I'll give it a 009.
Very good. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, my final say is absolute perfection. It gets a 9.75 from me. It doesn't get the 0.25 because nothing can be a 10, I believe. But that's just my personal philosophy. So I'm going to give it a 9.75, and I'm going to say I wish Lazenby got a second one. But if you can't beat perfection, why bother? You know, it's kind of... So maybe he made the right choice at the end of it. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us and watching this Bond review. We'll be back next month with Octopussy, the Roger Moore era. Oh, yeah, that's going to be interesting. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hit the bell, subscribe, like, share, and come back and watch us for more. I think it should really be the message, because we do very good reviews. So, yeah. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.